Taylor Swift jetted out of New Orleans after her boyfriend, Travis Kelce, and the Kansas City Chiefs lost to the Philadelphia Eagles at Super Bowl 2025. The lover songstress was photographed being escorted onto a private jet while surrounded by several black umbrellas on Monday, according to photos obtained by the Daily Mail. While Swift's entire body was not visible, cameras caught a glimpse of her distressed blue jeans, red loafers, and tan socks. One of the 14-time Grammy winner's assistants trailed behind her carrying a bag of snacks and cat litter. According to the outlet, her plane was heading to Nashville, Tennessee. Swift, 35, was last seen cheering for Kelce in her star-studded $3 million VIP suite at Caesars Superdome in New Orleans on Sunday. The Fortnite singer attended the sporting event with Ice Spice, Ashley Avignon, and the Haim sisters, Estee, Alana and Danielle, by her side. She appeared stressed while leaning over the rail of her suite, as the Eagles took a massive lead over the Chiefs early on in the game. At one point, Swift whispered to those around her and anxiously scratched her head, with one NFL commentator saying the pop star hasn't had much to cheer about. The game wasn't one to remember for the Cruel Summer's singer, as she was also booed by Eagles fans when shown on the Jumbotron. The game wasn't one to remember for the Cruel Summer's singer, as she was also booed by Eagles fans when shown on the Jumbotron. Swift wasn't seen after the Eagles defeated the Chiefs 40-22, but Kelce, 35, was spotted looking downcast while walking to the Love Story singer's suite. An insider told Page Six that Swift is staying by the tight end's side and comforting him because she knows how hard he's worked all season and was thrilled to be at the Super Bowl to show her support. Taylor knows Travis took this loss very hard, but she couldn't be more proud of him regardless of the outcome, we're told. A licensed relationship therapist, meanwhile, told us the loss would make them stronger as a couple. Perhaps they were going somewhere to discuss the Second Amendment. Page Six spies spotted Kid Rock and Representative Lauren Boebert getting into a cab together in Washington, D.C., at 2:30 a.m. as the parties celebrating the beginning of Donald Trump's second term wound down. While our rather tawdry source suggested the pair planned to keep the inaugural ball swinging into the wee hours, we have no evidence to suggest that was the case. It's perfectly possible that the Bawa Daba recording artist might have been, for example, dropping the Colorado congresswoman off at her hotel. TMZ posted a story about the pair the day after the January 20th events, when Rock, 54, and Boebert, 38, were photographed chatting at one of the inaugural bashes. Lauren was totally transfixed by the rock star, yapping away, doing a little dance, and clapping like she was front row at his concert, basically giving Kid Rock all the hype he needed, the site said. Either way, they have much in common. Both are among Trump's most die-hard supporters, and they're both enthusiastic gun-toters, even by rural Republican standards. They're also both veterans of the novelty restaurant biz. She owns Shooters, a Colorado eatery where servers were encouraged to carry guns, and he is the proud proprietor of Kid Rock's Big Ass Honky Tonk and Rock and Roll Steakhouse in Nashville, Tennessee. Of course, Boebert's horniness is legend. The lady from Colorado was famously booted from a performance of the musical Beetlejuice, in part for an amorous auditorium encounter with her date. Boebert filed for divorce from husband Jason in 2023. Rock has reportedly been engaged to Audrey Berry since 2017. When asked for comment, Boebert's press secretary said, "I think we'll pass." A rep for Rock didn't get back to us. Troubling details about Liam Payne's relationship with his ex-fiancée Maya Henry have emerged 4 months after his death. The former One Direction member sexted other men while dating the writer on and off from 2018 to 2022, a source alleged to Rolling Stone in a bombshell cover story published Tuesday. Multiple insiders claimed to the magazine that Payne, who died at age 31 in October 2024, privately struggled with his sexuality. Henry, 25, allegedly found out that the singer had been sending inappropriate messages to other people when he accidentally broadcast them to their TV. The source additionally claimed that Payne forced Henry to get an abortion in 2020 by giving her an ultimatum. Liam sent Maya a long message saying it's either get an abortion and stay with him, or raise the kid alone, and he will not acknowledge either of them, they alleged to Rolling Stone. This was a surprise to Maya, because Liam wanted to have a family, and they were trying for a kid. The X Factor alum notably became a father in March 2017 when he and ex Cheryl Cole welcomed son Bear, now 7. Henry, who reportedly agreed to terminate the pregnancy, first hinted at the abortion in her May 2024 novel, Looking Forward, which she said was inspired by her and Payne's romance. "What I went through in real life is very similar to what Mallory went through in the book," she told People at the time, referencing her character. "I definitely did have some complications following my abortion, and I did have to go to the hospital alone." The model did not divulge further details about when the procedure took place. Tuesday's report also alleged Payne pushed Henry down a flight of stairs and chased her with an axe during their on-again, off-again romance. She told the publication in a lengthy statement that she loved Payne very much, adding, "Anyone who has been with an addict understands how difficult that is. While I loved him deeply, he did things that hurt me in ways I'll never fully understand, and he continued to hurt me years after we broke up. I put myself in situations that were unsafe and harmful, ignoring every red flag," Henry continued, concluding that she does not fault him for his struggles. 2 years after Henry and Payne ultimately called it quits, she made headlines by sending him a cease and desist letter. She claimed her ex had repeatedly sent unsolicited and disturbing images and videos to her and her loved ones. By this time, Payne had moved on and was in a relationship with Kate Cassidy, whom he was with in Argentina in the days leading up to his death. After the influencer, 25, returned home from Buenos Aires solo, Payne continued partying in his hotel room, where he fell to his death from the third-floor balcony. 5 individuals have been charged in connection to the incident, according to court documents obtained by Page 6 in December 2024. We reached out to Payne and Henry's respective reps for comment on the Rolling Stone report. For Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, employees have been fired for sending $59 million to New York City to house and care for illegal migrants, according to the Department of Homeland Security. Effective immediately, FEMA is terminating the employment of 4 individuals for circumventing leadership to unilaterally make egregious payments for luxury NYC hotels for migrants, DHS officials said in a statement obtained by the Post. The firings, first reported by Fox, include FEMA's chief financial officer, 2 program analysts and a grant specialist. Under President Trump and Secretary Noem's leadership, DHS will not sit idly and allow deep state activists to undermine the will and safety of the American people, the statement added. The massive payment was blasted by Elon Musk, whose new Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, highlighted the transaction on Monday. "That money is meant for American disaster relief and instead is being spent on high-end hotels for illegals," Musk posted on X on Monday and promised DOGE would be making a clawback demand to recoup those funds. Cameron Hamilton, FEMA's acting administrator, said in response that FEMA had suspended payments sent to New York City to house migrants beginning on Monday. New York City Hall officials have said they have not been notified of any pause in funding and that no one has contacted them regarding Musk's clawback demand. Officials also denied Musk's assertions that the cash went to luxury hotels without specifically naming the billionaire. Only $19 million of the $59 million that the Tesla CEO highlighted in his tweet will go toward housing migrants in hotels, officials said. "We have already spent over $7 billion on this crisis alone, and the previous administration committed only $237 million in funding to help house the migrants in our care and for future services," the City Hall statement reads. "We have continued to receive previously allocated reimbursements through the past week. We will discuss this matter directly with federal officials." Many of Musk's claims couldn't immediately be confirmed as neither he nor Hamilton revealed additional details about the money. His remarks were likely referring to payments made by FEMA's Shelter in Services program, which reimburses municipalities and organizations for migrant-related expenses. The money is authorized and funded by Congress and is separate from the Disaster Relief Fund, which is FEMA's main funding stream to help people and governments affected by disasters. In 2024, the DHS, which oversees FEMA, directed Customs and Border Protection (CBP) to transfer $650 million of its FY 2024 appropriation to FEMA for the Shelter in Services program, according to the Congressional Research Service. CBP is also a part of the DHS. Tricia McLaughlin, a spokesman for the DHS, declined to answer questions about the payments, but pointed to recent statements by Secretary Kristi Noem. Travis Kelce reportedly felt helpless after his girlfriend, Taylor Swift, was pelted with booze during the Super Bowl 2025 matchup between the Kansas City Chiefs and Philadelphia Eagles. On Sunday, the 14-time Grammy winner, 35, appeared on the Jumbotron inside Caesars Superdome but was quickly met with loud boos from die-hard Birds fans. The frosty reception to her presence appeared to take her by surprise with a simple three-word response. And it seems as though the three-time Super Bowl champ, 35, also had a hard time digesting the harsh reaction to his girlfriend's attendance following the Chiefs' disappointing loss. Travis was aware of Taylor getting booed and he felt helpless. Seeing the look on her face got to him, a source told the Daily Mail. He always protects her and it broke his heart. He was already having a tough night and the fact that the stadium was predominantly Eagles fans didn't help. Travis knows that this hurt her and anyone can see this. The insider claimed that many Eagles fans feel that the Fortnite singer is a traitor of sorts given that she's from Pennsylvania and a former Birds fan. Travis believes that it was unnecessary for Trump to take a dig at her, especially after he voiced that he was honored for a president to be there, the source went on. After Taylor being shut out for a Grammy and Travis losing the biggest game of the year, it just hasn't been a good week for them. But he knows that even though this is not a happy ending to the season, having her love gives him so much joy. The Post has reached out to Kelce's reps for comment. The boos were later echoed by President Trump, who took to social media to troll the singer after his brief appearance at the matchup. The only one that had a tougher night than the Kansas City Chiefs was Taylor Swift. She got booed out of the stadium. MAGA is very unforgiving. Trump wrote on Truth Social alongside a video of the moment. The president's jibe stung a little more given that Kelce previously said it was a great honor that Trump was planning to attend the game. While Trump was spotted in the stands at the beginning of the game, he didn't stick around for long. The POTUS, 78, who previously predicted that the Chiefs would win, cut his losses and hit the road by halftime. Still, Swift did receive some supportive words from retired tennis legend Serena Williams, who took to social media to share a loving message to the cruel summer hitmaker after the now viral moment. "I love you" at Taylor Swift 13. "Don't listen to those boo," the 23-time Grand Slam winner wrote on X. Shocking video captured the moment Motley Crue singer Vince Neil's out-of-control private jet smashed into a parked plane, seriously injuring the rocker's girlfriend and killing one of the pilots. The newly emerged footage shows the Learjet 35A, registered to Neil's business, chromed in Hollywood, speeding down the runway Monday afternoon before it veers off track, striking a Gulfstream 200 parked at a nearby ramp at Scottsdale Airport in Arizona. The aircraft, carrying Neil's girlfriend, Rain Andreani, and a pal and dogs, can be seen skidding and struggling to safely come to a stop. It then slams into the parked and unoccupied Gulfstream, killing one of the Learjet pilots. The website Private Jet Clubs claimed that the Gulfstream's tail number linked it to another celebrity, Wedding Crashers star Vince Vaughn, whose reps did not respond to requests for comment. However, private plane company Jet Pros said it was our plane. There were no injuries on board the Gulfstream, but external damages were sustained to the aircraft, Jet Pros Director of Operations Gus Tolados told 12 News, adding that the company was cooperating fully with airport authorities and relevant agencies. The tragic collision unfolded just before 3 p.m. Monday when the private jet owned by Neil veered off the runway after landing, the Federal Aviation Administration said in a statement. 4 people, including a pilot who was killed, were on the plane as if arrived in Arizona from Austin, Texas. Neil was not on the jet at the time of the crash, but his girlfriend, Rain Andreani, and her friend were on board, sources told TMZ. Both women survived and were taken to the hospital, with Andreani suffering 5 broken ribs, according to the outlet. Dogs that were with the women during the private flight also survived the crash. 2 pilots were also on board the singer's plane, Neil's lawyer said in a statement posted on X. Mr. Neil's thoughts and prayers go out to everyone involved, and he is grateful for the critical aid of all first responders assisting today, his lawyer said. One of the pilots died in the collision, according to Neil's friend and Poison frontman Bret Michaels. The crash unfolded as a spate of airport accidents and air incidents in recent weeks have left travelers across the country on edge. On January 29, 67 people were killed when a U.S. Army helicopter and an American Airlines jet collided in the air at Reagan National Airport in Washington, D.C. Then 2 days later, another Learjet plane carrying 6 people plummeted into a busy Philadelphia street and exploded, killing all 6 people on board and 1 person on the ground. Will it help stave off a potential Armageddon? NASA is training humanity's most powerful telescope on a city-killing asteroid to determine whether or not we need to brace for deep impact. Dubbed 2024 YR4, the building-sized space rock reportedly has a 1 in 43 chance of slamming into Earth in 2032, up from about 1%, The Independent reported. The asteroid was discovered by NASA in December and is reportedly at the top of NASA's watch list when it comes to hazards from beyond. With this time-critical threat potentially on our doorstep, the space agency has enlisted the aid of the James Webb Telescope to study 2024 YR4 and gauge how much damage it would cause if it did strike our planet, per a blog post by the European Space Agency. It is very important that we improve our size estimate for 2024 YR4. The hazard represented by a 40M asteroid is very different from that of a 90M asteroid, the ESA wrote. Astronomers estimate the asteroid measures roughly 180 feet across around the height of the Leaning Tower of Pisa, Live Science reported. Based on these calculations, a strike by YR4 would cause roughly the same amount of damage as the Tunguska event, which laid waste to around 80 million trees in Siberia in 1908, according to Space.com. However, as these estimates are based on terrestrial telescope data, they only see sunlight reflected off the asteroid's surface, providing them a limited picture of the cosmic body. In reality, the asteroid could be much larger. James Webb would help astronomers glean a more accurate measurement of its size by using its infrared instruments to study the heat rather than brightness given off by the asteroid. In general, the brighter the asteroid, the larger it is, but this relationship strongly depends on how reflective the asteroid's surface is, ESA officials said. 2024 YR4 could be 40M, 130 feet, across and very reflective, or 90M, 295 feet, across and not very reflective. Also, because it orbits the Sun, the telescope doesn't have to observe near-Earth bodies through our planet's obscuring atmosphere like its counterparts on the ground, giving it a much clearer view. The first round of James Webb observations will transpire in March when the asteroid is at its brightest. It will then set its sights on the YR4 again in May as the space rock rockets away from the Sun, which will be its final chance to provide observations until the asteroid's comeback tour in 2028. These measurements will in turn be used by ESA, NASA, and other organizations to more confidently assess the hazard and determine any necessary response, the ESA wrote. This data would be crucial because even with the current size estimates, experts predict that a strike by YR4 could explode with the force of 15 megatons of TNT, 100 times more powerful than the atomic bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima in 1945, the Daily Mail reported. Louisiana police are investigating whether Telemundo Super Bowl reporter Adam Manzano was drugged before he was found dead in a New Orleans hotel room, as a previous victim of the suspect alleged that she left him for dead in a similar plot years ago. Manzano, 27, a reporter for Telemundo Kansas City who was in town to cover the big game, was last seen on security cameras being lured into a hotel room by the so-called Bourbon Street hustler Danette Colbert, 48, who was found with his cell phone and credit card in her home. The Kenner Police Department told reporters Monday that Colbert has a history of drugging men and stealing from them, with officials waiting on a toxicology report to see if Manzano was one of these victims. Since Colbert was arrested and charged with robbery in connection to the Manzano case, several of her alleged victims have come forward to tell police their story, the KPD added. David Butler, 52, was one of those victims who met Colbert at a French Quarter bar in New Orleans in November 2021, NBC News reports. Butler said Colbert and another woman approached him and offered him a cocktail, and after enjoying the drink, he quickly started to feel disoriented and needed help getting back home. She ushered me into some kind of black Suburban that was literally right there, he told the outlet. And that's the last thing I remember that night. A property manager found Butler passed out on the floor and shook him awake, with the victim finding his phone and wallet gone and his credit cards used to make $1,000 charges at Best Buy and Walmart. More than $80,000 that Butler stashed away in a cryptocurrency account for retirement was also gone, he said. Since then, Butler has kept tabs on Colbert, fearing that she wouldn't stop, with the suspect facing similar charges the next year. Nevada court records show that Colbert was charged in 2022 with grand larceny and administering a drug to aid in the commission of a felony in 2 separate cases. Both cases, however, were dismissed after the victims refused to testify in court. Colbert was ultimately convicted last October of computer fraud, theft, and illegal transmission of monetary funds, with Orleans criminal district judge Nandi Campbell foregoing prison time and instead ordering her to pay restitution and remain on probation for 5 years, according to court records. Butler slammed the sentence and claimed Manzano would not have lost his life if Campbell had levied a harsher sentence. Had the court acted decisively by incarcerating Ms. Colbert or enforcing stricter conditions for her release, it is possible Mr. Manzano would still be alive today, Butler told NBC. The minimal fines and lack of meaningful incarceration for crimes that could have led to serious injury or loss of life are, quite frankly, an insult to public safety and the justice system, he wrote to Campbell in December. If someone dies due to her actions in the future, their blood will undeniably be on the hands of those who allowed her to escape real accountability. Campbell's office did not respond to the Post's request for comment. Lawyers for Colbert, who remains in custody at the Jefferson Parish Correctional Center, could not be reached. The Federal Emergency Management Agency has mismanaged tens of billions of dollars over the years, according to numerous government reports into its spending. The government agency's response to COVID, hurricanes, floods and housing migrants have all come under fire for being wasteful and going largely unchecked as the newly created Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, has been sent in to analyze its spending. The most recent audit of the embattled Disaster Response Agency claimed it mismanaged nearly $10 billion during the COVID pandemic between 2020 and 2023. FEMA even approved a grant of $1.1 billion despite it only being supported by only a single piece of paper with no itemized costs, the January 30 audit by the Department of Homeland Security's Office of the Inspector General found. The request was also not prepared by a licensed professional engineer or cost-estimating professional, according to the 36-page report. The Trump administration has called for a complete overhaul of FEMA, which has a slated budget of $65 billion for fiscal year 2025. During the pandemic, $1.5 billion was doled out for one state's medical staffing without the proper vetting and could have been put to better use for other disasters, the January audit found. These issues occurred due to the unprecedented circumstances surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic and FEMA not following established requirements when delivering public assistance funding, said the report, which did not name the states which received the FEMA pandemic payments. It also cited $8.1 billion distributed by FEMA, which are costs that have yet to be determined allowable, according to the report. A leading FEMA critic said there is no doubt the agency made a mess of COVID disaster relief. What we sometimes fail to remember is that in the aftermath of a disaster there are victims, and this bureaucracy has just continued to re-victimize those victims, said Garrett Graves, a former Republican congressman from Louisiana who was a favorite to lead the agency, a job he told the Post Monday he does not want. I appreciate the gesture, but it's such a dysfunctional bureaucracy that I don't think I would last a month, he said, adding that he supports Musk's plans to streamline the agency. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said in an interview with CNN Sunday she is in favor of getting rid of FEMA the way it exists today. On Monday, Musk announced DOGE just discovered FEMA doled out $59 million to house migrants in luxury hotels in New York City. Sending this money violated the law and is in gross insubordination to the president's executive order, Musk wrote in an X post. On Tuesday, 4 FEMA employees were fired over the payment, including the chief financial officer, 2 program analysts and a grant specialist, according to the Department of Homeland Security. A request was also made to send the money back. FEMA has handed out more than $1.4 billion in housing and aid for migrants over the last 2 years, according to earlier audits. A 2023 report by the DHS Office of the Inspector General investigated $110 million in humanitarian relief funds given to local organizations. It concluded those organizations didn't use the funds in the way they were required to, couldn't provide required receipts or documentation, and that some of the aid went to illegal migrants. In October last year, Alejandro Mayorkas, then Secretary of Homeland Security, came under fire when he said FEMA did not have enough money to make it through the Atlantic hurricane season after Hurricane Helene surged through southeastern states, followed days later by Hurricane Milton hitting Florida, causing up to $60 billion in damage. In the midst of the back-to-back hurricanes, an additional $20 billion in funds were approved for FEMA by Congress. The agency spent $9 billion of that money in a little over a week, according to CNN. In a letter to Mayorkas criticizing the response to the Helene and Milton disasters, Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz claimed FEMA has wasted taxpayer funds, misappropriated funds, and left other federal, state and local responders without deployment orders on the ground. The letter cited whistleblowers and numerous emergency management functions as its sources. An August 2024 audit of the agency found it wasted $7 billion in unliquidated funds that could potentially be returned to the Disaster Relief Fund because FEMA agents did not follow the proper processes. Also, federal regulations and FEMA guidance provide no incentive to close out grants in a timely manner or consequences for failure to do so, said the summer 2024 audit, meaning money was in the accounts of states who did not need it. Without improved oversight and stronger policies, billions of dollars of unliquidated funds that could otherwise be returned will remain obligated to state, territorial, tribal or local governments and unavailable for use in providing relief in connection with current disasters, the audit said. And the waste doesn't end there, as the report said it had also reviewed a sample of 20 other grants and identified approximately $32.8 billion in improper payments. FEMA's lack of transparency and spending waste was previously documented by the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, OGR, in 2017. The Congressional Committee found the agency wasted millions in the purchase of mobile homes for temporarily displaced victims of floods and hurricanes. The homes cost up to $150,000 each to build and maintain for a year and a half. But after their use, the agency typically gave them away or sold them, the committee found. FEMA deactivated 4,350 such homes after a flood in Baton Rouge, Louisiana in 2016, according to the committee. FEMA was established in an executive order by former President Jimmy Carter in 1979. The agency works with counterpart emergency management organizations in state and local governments. It also provides grants to victims of natural disasters to help them with temporary housing, funeral and medical expenses. The 500-pound rapper who was suing Lyft after she allegedly was denied a ride due to her weight requested a couch instead of the chair that had been provided when she sat down for an interview with The Breakfast Club radio show. Dank Damas, who's described herself as obese and a BBW big beautiful woman, walked into the New York City studio and sat down in a wheeled office chair before the interview started, and she immediately looked uncomfortable and let the crew know it. "This the only seat y'all got?" Damas, who also goes by Dejua Blanding, asks earnestly. Host Charlemagne the God and others then pulled a couch over for the Detroit native, who donned a one-piece with a cutout in the front and an orange jacket to the interview. "This is what I'm talking about." "Good. This is accommodation," she said appreciatively while sitting down. Damas, who has previously said that she weighs some 489 pounds, went viral last month after she posted a video on social media showing a Lyft driver pull up in his Mercedes-Benz sedan and immediately lock his doors. "I can fit in this car," she assured him. "Believe me, you can't," the driver, who said his name was Ibrahim, fired back, canceling her ride. While discussing the incident on The Breakfast Club, she explained that she's had to adapt in many situations due to her weight but doesn't understand when people are unwilling to help accommodate her. She was asked why should people have to accommodate her and simply retorted why not. "Bigger people should be accommodated just like we accommodate the LGBT community," Damas added. She hit Lyft with a lawsuit last month. A Lyft spokesperson told the Post that the company couldn't comment on specific incidents caught up in litigation, but they condemned discrimination. Lyft unequivocally condemns all forms of discrimination. "We believe in a community where everyone is treated with equal respect and mutual kindness," the spokesperson said.